What is up, my friend? First off, you do not hear this enough, but you matter. Dude, the fact that you're listening to this right now, you're investing in yourself as a father is so important. And thank you. Our world is in desperate need of men just like you, leaning into their calling, their opportunity, their responsibility to love and serve a family well. Three nuggets that hit me from my conversation with my friend Blake today are: one, the power of ownership and not blaming your wife or your kids. Stop blaming. Number two is the responsibility we have to validate our kiddos and their identity, like come alongside, validate who they are. And then three, stop seeking convenience. Our world is all about convenience. And is it really helping us become the best version of ourselves? Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview truly incredible fathers, gaining wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our own craft of fatherhood. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to five kiddos, currently ages 13 to 19, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 21st year of marriage. So yes, I am in the thick of it with you, and I'm working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers, create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have the greatest opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. The role of the fathers to serve, guide, steward, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's guest is my friend Blake Casteel. I have major respect for this man. I'm not going to get into the details of our relationship or what it is he does as we jump into that at the beginning of our conversation. And I'd love for you to hear it just raw from the two of us. All right, my friends, much love. Enjoy meeting my incredible friend, Blake. All right, Blake, welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes. How you feeling today?
I feel pretty well. Thanks for asking that.
Good. Dude, your mustache has got to be the most badass. Uh, I don't want to say intimidating. Yeah, intimidating mustache ever. How long you been rocking that thing?
Ah, I just trimmed it too. I had to trim it.
Dang.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was becoming prevention of intimacy, so
Uh,
I had to trim it a bit. But man, I shaved a beard. I had a beard similar to yours for several years when I first got married, and I shaved it to a mustache about 13 years ago, and I've not looked back. I've had this for 12 and a half, 13 years.
dude, it works so well. I love it. I tried rocking a mustache this year, but my eyebrows are so thick that it just kind of looks like I have three mustaches on my face. So
Or three
the
eyebrows on your
or three
face.
or three eyebrows. Yes, yes.
That's yeah, both are weird.
Okay, so there is a whole slew of books behind you. If you are asked, well, like what are
Oh
one or
man.
two books that you are like, man, this book has just been pivotal in my life,
Yeah.
other than the Bible, what book would you be like, this is one I'd have to gift to someone?
Yeah, can I make so this one right here, since we're talking about being fathers, so sorry about seeing the back of my head.
No, you're good.
Intentional father was life-changing for me.
I'm
And
doing that with my son right now, The Primal Path.
bro, it's easier said than done, but I think this was more healing for my
Yeah.
relationship with my
Mhm,
father.
mhm,
Well, I should say more healing for my heart and for
mhm.
me concerning my father than it was even me learning how to be a better father. It was very helpful in both, but there's a couple things in here that you have to do that are relationally convicting, if you will,
Mm.
towards your own father, whether you had good relationship or bad relationship. And this was incredibly healing for me. Thank you, John. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but thanks, John Tyson.
Yeah, love
And
it.
then, honestly, bro, there's another one, "Play the Man" by Mark
Mm,
Batterson. This really helped me understand how I have daughter, daughter, son, daughter, daughter, son, and so my oldest children are two girls, and then I have a 13-year-old son, and this has helped me in
mm.
his path, like helping him lay a really healthy pathway.
That's cool.
Um,
I wanna check that out. I haven't heard of that one.
it's a really, really good one. And then, dude, I'm gonna just recommend a fiction book for all you dads. I don't know where
Oh,
you're at
let's
with all this
go.
stuff. The
Okay.
Book Thief. So this was a connection for me and my oldest daughter. She was an avid reader. I grew up being incapable of reading really well,
Mhm.
and I told her, I said, "Hey, what's your favorite book?" And she told me this book. the called The Book Thief, and I read it about 3 years ago, and it's easily my favorite fiction book. But I think
Wow.
more so because it was connective for my daughter and I. So I do read some fiction. I got some sci-fi, and
Let's
then a whole
go,
bunch of
dude.
dystopian books that I
Yeah,
enjoy. So,
yeah. Yeah,
anyways,
dude, super cool. And I just love that nugget too of, you know, one, the statement, I wasn't a good reader or whatever, incapable of reading. And then I want to connect with my daughter and then reading a book that she likes so that you could talk with her. I mean, dads, that's so simple. Like that's $15 and I don't know, maybe 5 hours of your time. You know what I mean? But a connection point. So I love that.
massive, massive connection point.
Yeah.
It's talked about often between her and I. Often,
Mm, so good. And just that little nugget that my dad would do something out of his, comfort zone or what he would choose to connect with me. Cause it's like I think as dads we can really be guilty of, yeah, let's hang out, let's go hunting, let's go work out in the
yeah.
gym, let's go work in the yard, let's go, something that is in my lane. Um cool. All right, my friend, you and I've really never necessarily hung out. We live in the same town, but I did want to just point something out for listeners as far as like, okay, your and I's first connection was some like kind of heavy things happen with the kids, and a bunch of adults had to get together and talk about it. And we're in a big room, and you and I both showed up as very passionate fathers. I will say passionate and protective. So that was our first interaction together. Our second interaction together was our kids were hanging out, middle schoolers being silly. One of us needed to call the other one and just say, hey, just want to make sure we're checking in. And that to me, I remember it's so funny because I brought this up before I hit record, and you said I was sitting right here in this room. And then I know exactly where I was walking up my old street. And the idea that two fathers who aren't at the same church, aren't in the same really commute, like we live in the same town, could pick up the phone and call each other and say, hey, I need to talk to you about X, Y, or Z. I think that happens a lot for moms, but dads, I need you to listen to this. Be a man, pick up the phone, call another man and have a conversation with him. And I have so much respect for you that we've been able to do that without like we've never had a beer together. We've never really done anything together. We've seen each other a couple places, but any feedback on your end from four guys listening to this to be able to just like pick up the phone and make that call?
Oh man, I think first of all, it's important to note that these were middle school age teenagers. Our kids their brains are still being formed, and I forget that at times.
Mm,
We they have so many years that their brains are actually becoming they're malleable, and I'm impatient, and so I'm like, what are you doing? It's my first like, what are you thinking? And so often our children aren't really capable of understanding what they're thinking, and it's okay. There's so much mercy and grace, but
mhm,
when I was younger, I was always, I'm still not tall, but I was just the shortest kid. I always had to work harder than every other athlete. I
mm,
didn't read. I had learning disabilities. I scored very poorly on tests, and I had so much fear of man,
mm,
and for years, I was more worried about what people thought about me than than being worried or taking care of the things I needed to take care of.
mhm.
And at the end of the day, I know every this was involving your son, my daughter, and it was definitely like the lowest thing on the
For
things
sure.
of things you don't want your kids to do. It was like right here, but I wanted to have a conversation,
Yeah.
or we wanted to have a conversation. And I just remember, man, I was a 13, 14-year-old kid, um, and I didn't have phones. I didn't have all these distractions, and
Mm,
I was rough around the edges. And so few people um, called my mom to check, or my dad. My dad wasn't
mm,
present,
mm.
and just to check and to make sure, and not in judgment. So
Right.
when people would call my mom, your son did this, and instead of saying there were, my daughter was involved and she made choices as well, instead of saying, my son, they were doing something and they threw mud at the back of my house, or dog crap at the back of our they didn't they it was always blaming me
Right. Right.
rather than having understanding that we all were preteens and
Yeah.
teenagers making at whatever it might have been at that era, or in that moment in time making mistakes. And so I have so much empathy and compassion when and understanding that, or excuse me, I have empathy and compassion for others because I understand that I don't always know what to do, or I don't always know what's happening. And so I think we spoke that day with a desire for, because we want our kids to, first of all, know they're loved, but also make wildly wise decisions. And that only comes, teaching that only comes through like, hey, this was a moment of lack of wisdom, or we'll call it a failure at times. Um, but just so you know, these are the failures I've made, and this is how I've become who I am today, because people helped me in those failures. And I didn't want to have fear of man from that circle conversation that we had of adults with a really
Hmm.
intense situation. And that was, I think, our first
Yeah,
meeting. I don't even think we shook hands because the room was so divided. It was such a, it was tough, you know,
it
and
was a tough one. Yeah.
it was tough. And that was my first moment with you. And then I found this situation. I'm like, man, I don't want my first and only moment with Ned to be the driving force when we're actually both dads of multiple kids. I want to really honor him in this conversation, and
Hmm.
but still ask honest questions. I did. And so used to, I let fear of man dictate, but now I let love for my child and love for others dictate.
So good. So good. And I'll say that those two things built upon a third situation that had come to your attention. And you called me and you said, "Hey, I
Mm,
heard this. I don't really know the facts, but I wanted to share this with you." And it's like, dads, we can't just overhear our daughters or our wives saying, "Oh, did you hear so and so this, that, and the other?" We have to step in as this village mentality and go like, "Okay, I'm going to go to the source, to the father, and I'm going to say, "Hey, I just wanted to pass this on to you." Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to live with not knowing that I shared this information with you. Dads, we need to have each other's backs. And here's the cool thing about that is like last week, you and I ran into each other at Home Depot, and I can't, most situations I don't it's like I'm just not good at talking about sports or politics or work. It's not exciting to me to like with other men sometimes like small talk stuff. We ran into each other at Home Depot and we just had like a 20-minute conversation about stuff that mattered. And I even walked away with a nugget that you had said about, connecting with your kids is the priority over being corrective with them. Right. And so it was like, we could meet up and have an in depth conversation, 20 minutes Home Depot, something that we both like actually mattered to us a lot more than who won the football game. Like that stuff's cool, but it mattered more. So, anyways, man, our little interactions has created a ton of value for me. Like when I see you, I have a ton of respect for you, and I really want other men to have men in their lives like this. Even if you've never been to each other's house, you've never gone to dinner, you've never shared a beer, nothing, you could still have this type of uh, masculine respect relationship out in the community. So I
absolutely.
just want to share that with you.
Yeah, I love that and notice, for all the men that do listen to this, it was Home Depot, not Lowe's. So I'm just
Oh
going to say
yeah,
that it wasn't
yeah.
Lowe's. It was Home Depot, the much better home improvement store, the DIY store. Anyways,
That's so funny. All right, Blake, how old do you find yourself today?
I'm almost 41.
How's
It's
41 feel?
I feel good. I think I have a little bit of a knee sprain. I went to the doctor yesterday, and so there's some admission to myself that I need to be a little bit more wise uh, in my movements and my, especially I work with so many young people. I like to beat young people where I can, so uh, I have to just humble myself a bit more nowadays and be honest
Yeah.
with where I'm really at.
I'm 42, and yesterday, my teenage daughter, one of them, wanted to take us on this hike. White Roads. I don't know if you've been on this hike. Uh,
Waimea, past
y-
Waimea,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You gotta like. So I realized my age yesterday in the sense that, because you have to like hop four fences and like crawl through this tunnel
yeah,
and blah blah blah. And my daughters were like, oh shoot, dad almost tripped. And that was where I was like, oh my gosh, they're watching me
yeah,
now. I feel like the king of the universe, and they're watching me be
yeah.
like, oh shoot, help our dad doesn't trip.
Yeah,
Anyways, it was
yeah,
sad and funny. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. How many years you been married, Blake?
17, just over. Yeah.
Dude, let's go. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
What would you tell the guy who's hitting 10 years right now?
Of
Because you're
marriage.
coming up, yeah, you're coming up on 20, right? Like that's kind of the next
Yeah.
milestone, and you're well on your way. If there's a guy who's like at that 8, 9 years, and he's like, dude, this is whatever rough. What are a couple things you would share with him that like, here's what will help you get to this next season?
The main thing I would say is anything that you're keeping hidden from your wife, get it in front of her. That is, it's a massive cost and price to pay, but for her sake and for your sake, get it in front of her. There's
Mhm.
there's nobody that told me the importance. No, I didn't have men speaking into my lives. I searched my life. I searched for it, but men just weren't present in my life. I
Mm,
had a coach with football, my freshman, sophomore, junior year, but then he quit, and my senior year, I had nobody after him, and he was probably, other than my grandfather, the most
mm,
influential man in my life. That would have been, a generation or two before me, and after him, I never found anybody else. My father-in-law is amazing, but how much are you going to tell your father-in-law that you're, in,
right.
even when you're dating his daughter, even though I would encourage young men to really now invite your father-in-law into process so that he can also help you and his daughter make a wise decision towards the future. But so I never had anyone say, "Hey, take care of your mess first. Take
Mm,
care of addictions first. Take care of the dishonesty that you've let be a consistent thread in your life. Get it in front of that spouse or future spouse before 10 years. If you're beyond 10 years, still do the same. But
mhm.
man, I just wish I would have done those things sooner. Um, I just had, like I said earlier, I've had so much fear of man because moments when I was honest in the past, and even just as a kid, there was always something I wasn't expecting, something that shouldn't have come.
Yeah,
When your kid
yeah.
comes up to you and they're honest with you about, you know, uh, what my story was, my I cussed at school. I was in fourth grade, and my dad picked me up from school, my sister and I. She's a few years younger than I. And and my teacher was like, "Hey, you need to tell your dad." And she didn't say it like this, she was kind, but she's like, "Hey, tell your dad or tell your family, parents, what you did at school. And we're going to send a note home to make sure in the folder that you give to your parents so that they know what happened." So I get in the car. I'm
Mhm,
like, "Well, I don't want him to read a note." I tell my dad, it's so vivid. "Hey, Dad, I said this word today in school," and his face, this enragement that
mhm,
came, this anger that I would see from him often, but it was more just, I knew he was tired from working so many hours, whatever it was. And when I was honest with him, yeah, it caused this rage that I wasn't anticipating. And what was crazy is I learned all the bad words that I said from movies that he would watch or let me watch. Not even from him, but what he would let me. I mean, I remember seeing the first nudity I ever saw was in a movie that he let me watch. And
mhm.
yet, you try to be honest about these areas, and then you get nailed with this reality of someone's not prepared to walk with you in them. And I've been guilty of that in the past, not being enraged, but this not knowing exactly what to do, and my kids not feeling gentleness, and they feel this maybe anger at times, but this force rather than this. Man, that word is a terrible word, But hey, let's talk about it. Let's get through
Yeah,
this, and let's walk through it. And so dishonesty trickled all through my life, and then I never I just allowed it to be something that came into my marriage. And so if there's
yeah,
things that you have in your life that aren't in the light, especially with your wife, get them in the light. It'll be
yeah,
it'll be rough for a while. It might even cause, I don't know what some men have done, might even cause separation or even worse. However, the getting things in the light, we owe that to our spouses.
yeah. So good. So, guys, obviously, like one nugget from that is pay attention to your response when your kid tells you something because you want them to continue to trust you. And then, Blake, I want to ask you a question because I think many of us men can struggle with almost almost looking at our wives as like a mom in a sense. So when a guy is going to come and be honest with his wife, what would you suggest is an approach? And I'm talking more like, man, kind of working this out in my head, but the approach, instead of be like, hey mom, I messed up at school today and at this, where you're almost just like looking for comfort, for like, I said sorry, so I hope you just forgive me and are comfortable with me. Versus if I'm coming to my wife where I'm supposed to be loving, serving, dying for, what's that approach look like? Because I think some of us are like, well, I said sorry, I told you the truth. You should just
Yeah,
forgive me as quickly as like a mother would. But this is a
yeah,
different relationship. And I think guys can mess this up. So what's your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
Man, the lowest the as low as you can get.
Mm,
I used to be I grew up in a family that there was blame,
mm,
and my
mm,
parents got divorced when I was 17, and there was just always blame, you know. And it's easy to validate when someone says, "Well, they did this to me," and honestly, like there's some real necessary steps when someone does something to somebody. There's necessary steps, and I think you know the Bible is this really. It's so black and white at times, but then it seems so nuanced at other times. Like for instance, Jesus says if you marry a divorced woman and she didn't get divorced for sexual morality, then you're an adulterer. And it's
mhm,
these crazy things. But then I just know that if I saw I, I don't think Jesus would just sit there and watch some wife get the crap beat out of her every
mhm,
day, and her. But it's just but the Jesus didn't say that, and so there's this moment like, man, where in the world do um where do we go with those types of intense things? And I just think men are really poor at getting low and humbling themselves.
mhm,
Like
mhm,
I've never beat my wife or my kids, which I'm very grateful to say, and that's not why I was using that story of Jesus. I just think that in our lives as men, we blame. For instance,
mhm.
we when if I have a sexual addiction or a porn issue, or let's say I've committed adultery, a physical action with another woman, and I say I did this, so I viewed porn, or I did this in the shower, I had this interaction with this woman,
Yeah.
or other things that aren't sexual, whatever they are, and I did it because you didn't do this,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
we didn't have that. That is something that I did early on in our marriage. I still battle blame, if I'm really honest. I, my wife, I get in a fight, and my response is poor, and I'm like, "Well, you said this." There's this tool that I'll just recommend to everybody that I was given by my brother-in-law. And once you do that, you make a donut shape. So here's the bigger outside of the donut, and then this
mhm,
smaller area. All the things in that bigger part, you write down the things you can't control.
mhm,
And then in that donut hole area, write down the things you can control. And when I really looked at it, I can't control what my wife says. I
mhm,
can't control what my son does. I can't control how that person drives. I can't control what you say to me or ask me on
mhm,
this podcast or this video. But I can control my response to my wife. I can control the way the face I make at my daughter when she does something that I wish she wouldn't done. I can
Yeah,
respond to what I do with my hand when somebody cuts me off driving. I
right.
can I can at least have kindness even if you were to say something that I didn't necessarily agree with, which
Mhm.
I don't believe will happen. There's just an example. And when you write down those things, because there's a lot, if you really think about it, that you can't
Yeah.
control. I can't control. I can control what my kids do on the computer when I can a little bit because I have software on all of our computers. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
they
You can
can
do what you
text
can do.
somebody. You can
Yeah.
do what you can do. I can't control how my daughter drives. That's a hard one for me. She's 20,
Mm.
and like, Lord help me, but I can control, like, hey, how was your day today? My response, my questions I ask her, hey, what was it like? Or you had a date last night. How was your date?
Mhm.
These things, and actually control my connection, or my conversation, or my responses, my facial um, responses, which speak loudly. So when I receive that tool, I do that often, probably once a
Hmm.
week now, where I'm like, okay, I can't control this, but I
Yeah,
can control this.
man. So good. Yeah, we've been reading as a family like the last year, like leaning into the Galatians 5, where it talks about fruits of the spirit. And the one that I think is just so unique is like self control. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so if I'm in sync with who God made me to be, I have self control. Um, okay, I love this. So as I kind of break this down, this idea, I think one of the things is like we've women been carrying the burden of family in a lot of ways, and men, like we've kind of earned the right of some of the frustrations I think people have, but we have a huge opportunity. But I love this, instead of blame, which is exactly what Adam did, right? He blamed God,
Yeah.
blamed Eve, just to say, because I think sometimes if I'm going to come say, hey, I struggled with X, Y, or Z, I'm almost coming as a victim. Like, this happened to me
Yeah.
and I'm the victim and I need
You chose
you
it.
to
Yeah.
support me in this. Whereas, like, yo, you know what? I'm going to own this because I did
Yeah.
it. I hurt you. Like, hey, wife, I hurt you. You're the victim to what I did. And
Yeah.
I am really, really sorry. If we could take that approach to it, getting that stuff in the light, I think it also, we walk away feeling more manly because we owned it. We died to it instead of wanting her to die to something which wasn't what she was called to do.
Yeah.
Um, okay, sick. That's so good. That was on the marriage piece. All right, you have kids, ages. What's the youngest? What's the oldest? You said
So
it
my
once
oldest,
already, but
yeah, no worries. I have a 20-year-old daughter who is my oldest. My wife, real fast, I said I was married 17 years, which is true. My wife was a single mother. So I
mm,
married Shannon, and she had a daughter named Shiloh, and Shiloh is my oldest daughter.
mm,
We were never able to get her name changed to Casteel because of her dad was, I won't get into this too much, but wanted to be part of the picture, but never wanted to be part of the picture. It was
mm-hmm,
a control thing, which men are really good at, uh, trying to put their foot down and control, but they suck at their what it takes to walk it out.
mm-hmm.
So she was single mom, and then I have my youngest is he turned 6 March 3rd, so in just a couple months.
And there's 6 kids.
There's 6, yeah. So I have
Yeah.
16-year-old, 20-year-old, 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, 11-year-old daughter, 9-year-old daughter, and an almost 6-year-old son.
Whew,
We're done. I had the surgery. That
let's
might be
go.
too much info, but I had the surgery.
No, not at all. All right, you guys live in Kona. How many years you guys been here?
15.
Okay, and then what is it you do for a living to feed the family and provide value in the world?
Absolutely. So I've worked with Youth with a Mission, which is a missions organization that is in every country of the world and province, and had the gospel's been shared on every continent, even in Antarctica. The founder of Youth with a Mission did so, and it's pretty amazing. But I've been part of Youth with a Mission specifically the last 13 years now. Started a ministry called Respect the Corners. That the purpose of it starting was to disciple men, and
Mhm,
I never had, like I said a couple of times, no one was really ever consistent pouring into my life. And there's so many things I needed. And that was, when I was young, we didn't have phones like we do now in our hands where you could just, the world tells you who you should be, what you should be, how you should do it, why you should do it, what will happen. And what those things need to come from fathers or men or sages or mentors that have been through life, not some guy that's around your age having a social media influence. And
mhm,
so, anyways, we started Respect the Corners using the avenue of fitness to disciple men. So the fitness gave us something to do shoulder to shoulder, not like bro sesh stuff where you're just curling and extensions and isolation stuff, but real functional stuff. I just heard a podcast recently, muscles for not muscles for show, but muscles for go.
mm,
And I really appreciated that because at the end of the day, so many of us might look strong, but man, we aren't capable of doing a lot of things. So, anyways, I we started that 13 years ago, and we use the method of fitness to disciple young men, but also missionally to train coaches to go into unreached nations of the world and use a coaching context and platform in those nations to disciple and share the gospel. Then we also take responsibility for the vast amount of villages and in the mountain ranges of the world that have never heard the
Mhm.
gospel of Jesus Christ and the truth about who he is and how much he loves them. And we use our fitness to get Bibles to those places that are way too high. I can't believe
Mhm.
people live at this far above sea level. And then lastly, discipling the community around us, whether that be, we have some people in our community that work at high schools and train do strength and conditioning for football teams, volleyball teams, basketball teams, and then
Mhm.
also first responders and SWAT teams, and very cool things like that. So, using that avenue of fitness has been the last 13 years of my life.
Ah, dude, it's so awesome. Love fitness. And I will say, so I'm 42 now, but right before I turned 4, I've always liked fitness, right? Always worked out, whatever. But it was before I turned 40, I was like, I'm gonna get in the best shape of my life. Right. So I joined some online program and got down to like my lowest weight and looked great. And it was a fun experience. But it was so hard. I didn't really realize like fitness is like, I don't know, you could make up a percentage, but 75%, 80%, 90% food, right? If you want to be fit, like really fit, it's food. And as an American, the amount of like dopamine hits that I get from food all the time, and I should say a Christian, right? Because I'm stressed, so I'm gonna eat. And I do it all the time. Um, I needed to lean on God so much. It was like seriously a spiritual breakthrough for me at that time to get my food under control. To like do my first 3-day fast, to understand my relationship with food. I had to lean on God for that. So it was like pretty spiritual experience for me.
Amazing. It's important.
Yeah.
Adding fasting to your life, the asceticisms that set in. You don't have to live with so many things that you live with.
Mhm.
So you don't
Mhm.
have to. The things that we don't need that list is way bigger than we want to give
Mhm.
give attention to, and so man, I think the more fasting you do in a healthy way,
Mhm.
and awareness of the things in you that are dying, like the things that you hold as value that aren't as important. When you can sit down, for instance, if you did intermittent fasting and just ate dinner for 5 days,
Mhm.
say it that way. Your value and your gratitude for that dinner each day is so much higher. And your kids are like, why are you praying before dinner with so much passion? It's because you've gone through the day killing something in your life that you
Mhm.
didn't know you could live without. But that is something that actually it becomes so spiritual because it does give you a very miniature idea of what Jesus went through for
Mhm.
us. I mean, 40-day fast in the wilderness. And then,
Gnarly.
I know when I'm tired and sin comes into my life, it's the perfect it's the most likely the best time I'm going to sin is when I'm exhausted or hungry and Jesus went there and didn't sin. So I recommend everybody hitting that up.
Yeah, question for you. Okay, because you've worked with people on fitness a lot more than I have. But when I was in this group and doing this fitness stuff, what I had noticed is so many men were kicking porn addictions that
Yeah.
had struggled to do so for years and years and years. But once, because like saying no to eating lunch or saying no to whatever, it's obviously easier, but it's creating a practice or
Yep.
like I'm going to hit my macros every day for 60 days or whatever. Doing that almost cultivated the habit of being able to say no to an urge
Yeah. Yeah.
versus like, having something like pornography that's like maybe harder to say no to. But it's like if I hit my macro 60 days in a row, I'm learning to train myself that when a hunger comes, I
Yeah.
go, no, that's just a feeling. That's just like I'm not actually hungry right now. Like, or I'm not starving, let's just say. I don't need to eat to survive. So any feedback on that you've seen men increase in relationship or addictions or whatever through leaning into their fitness?
I think I see men all the time step into a place of realizing what they're capable of by
Mm.
being consistent. When you
Hmm.
establish the number one way I think we'll see people kick habits, like we'll just use the reality of the pornography one,
Hmm.
for instance. They'll kick habits is such a I don't love habit for pornography is so much bigger than just a habit. You know, it severs your mind from reality.
Mhm.
And I think but when you get to a place of really getting consistent with something, and then, like, for instance, the fitness stuff. When you say no to something to do fitness, so if I say no to that extra hour of sleep to do fitness, or if I say no to that lunch break to do fitness, um, you can take that into other areas of life. So if
Mhm.
I say no to scrolling on my phone, that's going to increase my potential and the probabilities. It at least becomes plausible of me to not step into the
Mhm.
viewing of other things that I view. The access on that we have as men, as humans, if you can deny yourself that access, then you will drastically change the realities of what could happen, because you're limiting the where that source comes from. The source
Mhm.
of that habit being porn. It comes from, you're not no one's going to the store and buying magazines anymore, because they're irrelevant.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
VHSs are irrelevant. The DVD store that was on the border of Oklahoma and Texas, where I live, is irrelevant now, because we all have. I could, if I wanted to, I could just, when I'm done with you, I could shut this and
Yeah.
hop on
Yeah.
there. I have software on here, so my friends would find out, or my wife would find out. Not a big deal. I mean, that's a big deal. I'm just saying, I wouldn't do it. It is a big deal, just so everyone. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
if I did it,
it's
someone's going to know.
yeah.
So if you do it in one area, you can do it in other areas.
Yeah.
And when you have this mental overload of your excuse me, an overtaking of your own mind back, you start to take ground that you would have never. And it can start with something simple like fasting or fitness.
Yeah. Man, there's so many benefits, spiritual, relational, um, for stepping into fitness. We could probably talk for 2 hours on that, but we'll keep cruising here. In your opinion, Blake, what's the role of the father?
Man,
So,
I
yeah.
or did you want to go further in that question,
No,
or
no, go for it.
okay. The role of the father, my kids, all of our kids need to know who they are.
Mhm.
All of them. We're seeing things um, around the world, but mainly Western world, but mainly America. And you're seeing a massive culture of confusion because
Mhm.
identity was not established. And that might be, it could be sexual orientation, that could be gender, that could be, there's kids that won't walk in faith because their dads were Christians and they didn't validate their child's process of becoming one.
Mhm.
And there it has to be these when you look at the word of God, he gave us free will, but he still called Adam Adam. He still called Eve Eve. He said go, and you can eat of any tree. Don't eat of this one, but you can eat of any tree. And I think as fathers, we have to give our children the wisdom needed to do what is possible, do what is good, enjoy it, validate it.
Mhm.
There is this tree here. I'm not going to pull this tree out of here, because it's real world. It's I can't I can't go through I can't on this island. There's what, 300,000 people on this island. I
Mhm.
can't go through all the teenage boys, which I'd love to do, but I can't go through the teenage boys and say, get this guy out, get this guy out, get this guy's. Hey, this guy's pretty quality actually. He's a hard worker. He has integrity. He's honest. He's he's quality in a lot of ways. Let's keep him in here. But oh, oh, here's another guy. Might be. I can't. That's not what God did with any of us,
Mhm.
and it's not what Jesus does, and so there's this dynamic as a father, and I didn't do this the best with my older children. I'm I'm gaining ground back with my older children,
Mhm.
but when I look at my older children, I'm like, hey, you're a confident woman. Hey son, you're a son that's going to take responsibility. This is how I'm raising you. This is what we're going to do as followers of Christ, as men. And I think the thing that we need, that I've really worked on, I shouldn't say we need, because I don't want to make every man feel like they aren't doing this, and maybe they are, or I would just recommend, I should say, validate your kids, validate the good that you see. It's so hard at times because you see the stuff they're not doing,
Yeah.
But when you can look at your son and be like, man, I'm really proud of you for not slapping your sister. I know you wanted to. And that sounds so silly, but when you validate and then you also say, hey man, you're becoming a really great young man.
Yeah.
I saw you make a really wise decision. Or I validate you as an athlete. Son, you have a really killer arm. I was like, well, why do I have to do push-ups then? I'm like, because push-ups are going to help your killer arm. You're
Mhm.
going to be in better shape for when, whatever it is, whatever sport he loves. And so, and then I validate, sorry. And then as a father, us directing them, I wish I would have done this sooner. But as followers of Jesus, we have to be the spiritual leaders of our families.
Mhm.
And man, I let my wife do so much of this early on because she's just such a phenomenal woman and she loves the Lord and she's spiritually led our family for a long time. Sad, but we should have done it more together. But
Mhm.
a father, if you're a believer, you need to lead your kids towards Jesus. And that does not mean that everything has to be about him, but meaning I listen to music that isn't Christian music, if you will. I don't always listen to worship in
Right.
my car. I listen to my wife was like, why don't you have explicit off of your phone? I'm like, well, then I'm not going to be able to listen to these podcasts that I listen to, where they're exposing human trafficking and I'm learning like that's why none of our kids have devices because this system sucks and they want to get
Mhm.
our kids into all these things. And so father, the protector and the guider in those um, towards the Lord is so important because man, what we don't do here, our kids won't do there. And for the longest time, because we work in ministry, we didn't go to church on Sundays, and
Yeah.
it now grieves me that we didn't, you know, really exhort our children to be a part of a church earlier on, and we let it be something that, oh well, mommy and daddy are in the ministry world. Let's have breakfast and we'll read the Bible together. But now I don't know if our older kids will go to church when they go to college or
Mhm.
so we're trying to get that in even late here because at the end of the day, the church can be so screwed up. And there's
Mhm.
people out there that I just read another story this morning of another affair that's happened in the body of Christ and of a leader. Like, man, is this stuff going to ever end? I don't know. It's not up to me to know that or not. But humans are humans, and if we don't walk it out in community, it's going to get really hard. And that's why so many men succumb to things. And I just want my kids to be a part of a community. I don't care if it's Baptist or, I'm not talking about denomination. I'm just talking about people like, hey,
Yeah,
here's
be in a
here's the
community
truth
of
about,
believers.
yeah, of
Yeah.
believers. And so learning that late.
Blake, you kind of made a couple comments, but when did you embrace fatherhood? Like, go, man, my role really matters. I think it's helpful for guys to hear because it's never too late. So I think some guys, it's like, man, the moment I heard I was going to be a dad, I was psyched and like I was like ready to go. And then it's like, well, when my kid walked, my kid threw a baseball, my kid, whatever. When for you did you really go, man, my role as a dad matters deeply? Not just what I do for the Lord
Yeah.
outside these walls, but what I steward inside these walls of our home.
Yeah. So from day one, I mean, I married a single mom and I
Yeah.
remember having a conversation with our daughter, just a couple months into our marriage, we were walking to the park, just her and I, and out of nowhere she goes, hey, what should I call you?
Mhm.
And she was I think she was 4, might have been 3.5. And her,
Wow.
once again, her this was in North Carolina, and so her biological dad still, lived like 2 hours away from us at the time. And I'm trying to think, man, I want to honor him because without him, Shiloh wouldn't be here. But also,
Mhm.
no, he's not a great dude. And so, how do I do this? So I always kind of kept Shiloh in a place towards forgiving him, my oldest daughter towards forgiving him. And there comes a point where I have to wash my hands like, hey, I tried to help you out, bro, but you never did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not responsible to you. I was just doing what I felt like the Lord wanted me to do for the sake of Shiloh not growing up and being bitter and
Mhm.
resenting you, but you didn't help that process. So I'm just going to keep helping her not be bitter and resentful, but I'm not going to try to get her to conversate with you or respond to you. You've lost that privilege.
Mhm.
So for me, from day one, I remember having that conversation. Like I mean, I guess you can't call me dad because homie here, but you can call me pop if you want to, I know it
Mm.
sounds a little bit grandpa. I just didn't know what else to say. She's like, you know what? I'm just going to call you dad.
Wow.
And it struck me like, oh man,
Mhm.
this is real.
Mhm.
Um, it's just a few months into marriage. My wife was pregnant with our second daughter, or like 6 months into marriage, and it hit me like, man, this is really real. And I started to take things really seriously. Um, but so often I didn't know what to do, so I found myself having to repent a lot. And I think every time I had to repent, even when my kids were little, I'd raise my voice or I'd make a face, that angry face, and I just started repenting to my kids. And I think about, man, I'd say about 6 years ago, I had the realization that my older kids didn't get the best of me at all. And man, it was rough. I thought, you know, everybody thought I was a good guy. I was capable. I was responsible in so many areas, crushing it in some of the world that I worked in. And then I come home and my kids just got the worst of me. And I think I realized, my wife and I both, about 6 years ago, that our oldest kids, we have that we realized the limited amount of time we have left
Mhm.
with them. And that's when things really started to change for me. And I started to have more intentional time with my daughters. I started to coach my son's teams rather than just go to his games. I started to wrestle with my kids even more. I started to read to them. I
Mhm.
started to, uh, we just changed the culture. And I remember listening to this guy earlier this year. His daughter would wake up. She's like, I just want to watch Disney. I just want to watch Disney stuff, which, you know, yeah, my kids had to some degree had something, something similar to that. And he said, he was praying for his kids and the Lord spoke to him. He's like, hey, change the menu. You control the
Mhm.
menu.
Mhm.
And it hit me like, oh man, I control the what my kids intake, in terms of TV, how much they are on, an iPad if we let them be on one, which now we don't anymore. But we started to change the menu 6 years ago. I didn't have verbiage for it, but that's what we started to do. And then the last year, um, especially when a lot of things have changed in our family this last year, um, we tried to get even lower in humility. And,
Mhm.
hubris comes so quickly for me.
Mhm.
I just, I don't know why, man. I'll have a moment where I just get prideful and I tell my kids, well, you need to do, whatever. I know I've been through this, blah, 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 blah. Our kids don't need to just know in a moment when they're going through something what we've been through.
Mhm.
Just listen. Just
Mhm.
say, man, that is tough, or that is, I'm sorry that happened. Or, next time we won't make this meal because now we really know how much you dislike it. Whatever it is. Not
Mhm.
just saying that they need to be brats. They aren't. Anyways, that's a little bit of a rambling, but man, I think about 6 years ago is when the shift really changed. And
Mhm.
then 2 years ago and into this last year, my heart began to be healed. My mind
Mhm.
began to be healed from really deep pains and even some trauma. My wife's heart and her mind is being healed as we speak. Both of us as we speak. It's a beautiful process. So many tools
Mhm.
out there to help us be
Mhm.
better fathers and better lovers of each other and of our kids.
It's so interesting how it's like it's not really designed for us to get all our shit together and then we have kids. It's like it's happening while they're here. And it's almost like, could it have happened without them being along on the process? It's like you needed them in your life to help you die to
No.
us, right? Die to
Yeah.
selfishness, die. Cause like if I was just like, oh, I'm just going to wait till I'm 40, I'd probably be deeper in my selfishness to have kids, right? Me, Ned, would be deeper in my like thinking about myself, this, that, and the other. So it's interesting that we have our kids. So then I'm like 42. I'm like, dude, let me start a family now. I feel like I'm ready. Um,
You're not.
yeah. So then it's like
Yeah.
sometimes I think that our kids are in our life in some regard more for our transformation and sanctification than even their. I mean, I know their own is happening as well, but it's like God gives them to us for our own learning and growing. Which leads me to this thought. Okay, your 3.5 year old. Oh, I love it. Your 3.5 year old, not necessarily. It's like you not your birth child, right? your adopted child, if you will, I just think of each one of us as her, right? Like you gave her the option, hey, call me pops, call me whatever. But she had a desire in her heart. She's like, I need somebody to call dad. That's how she was born, right?
Hmm.
Like, I need this. And she decided it. And so it's like, I think us men, we could learn so much from her that we are adopted into God's kingdom. We desperately
Yes.
need somebody to call dad,
Need
and
a
we are
father.
created
Yeah.
that way. And so like your identity, your healing, your ability to like love your family well can only really happen after you go, I need a dad and I'm
Yeah.
going to call you dad. And then from that place there's like this security that comes from that. Like she needed that just like each one of us desperately need that.
Yeah. And I needed it.
Mm.
I needed to know that she wanted to call me that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's
Oh my
massive.
gosh. Bro. So you mentioned like your dad and then you mentioned you didn't have a good relationship with him, but maybe if you could, what's one thing you loved about your dad and then what's
Yeah.
one thing you would have changed about your dad?
Yeah. So what I was saying earlier about this book, The Intentional Father, I'll just say it
Mhm.
again right here, was in one of the chapters, because I'm really good. I'm really good at saying what I don't like. I'm a critic, naturally. And there's another good book. I'll find it later, but it's called The Flip Side by a guy named Flip Flippin, which
Mm.
is really silly, but also a great play on words. What's his real name? Really amazing book. It's 10 personality traits that,
Mm.
or character traits and personalities, yeah, that people have, and how to know what you are so that you can better. It's, so many people are Enneagram, so many of those things. But
Mhm.
anyways, the thing that got me with his book was that you're working on what you are so that you can better love people with who they are. Like you're not trying to change somebody to become like you. That's terrible. But anyways, I'm such a critic, and uh, in this book, he and John Tyson said, so often we look at our fathers and I could list all the things that my dad did terribly or didn't do, and that I didn't like about him, or and just it's quite a massive list, a lot of quantity on that list.
Mhm.
But he says, if you had a great dad or if you had a really terrible dad, find something. It might be a way. It might be two things, but find something that you can write a letter to, a handwritten letter to your dad, letting him know. Or it didn't matter I don't remember it being handwritten, but anyways, typing out a letter and saying the things that he did well.
Mm.
And so I read that and I'm like, WTF, dude, there's
Mhm.
no way I
Tough.
can do this. No way I can do this.
Mm.
And anyway, so I had to like a week. I remember being on a trip in the Middle East with my son while I read that.
Wow.
And I'm trying to list them out, man. And over the course of a week, I got 9 things, like
Mm.
massively digging deep. 9 things that my dad did well. My dad worked hard to provide for our family. He worked hard. He wasn't at dinner ever. We didn't have dinner around the table. Um, we always ate. If we did eat together, we ate watching. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but he played catch with me. It was only maybe 10 times my entire life, but I remember moments of
Mm.
playing catch, and that's why my son and both of my sons and I, and even some of my daughters, we play catch together. It's something that I remember being so important to me.
Mm.
He gave me a love for music. Um, he was a musician. I don't play music because he didn't give me a love to play music, but I love music still because of him. So I wrote those things out, and I sent them to him. And so
Mm.
I'm really grateful my dad did some of those things. And the thing that I would have I've changed was if I could go back and be like, hey, if I go, I won't say his name, but pre dad, before your dad years, I would just say to him, uh, just be kind,
Mm.
be kind. Even if you disagree, just be kind. And my kids maybe would say that to me, but my dad didn't. have someone saying like, "Hey, this the fruit of the spirit," like you said, it's so important. Kindness. Let's not put that one to this. We were in the Baptist church, and this isn't. If any of you are Baptist, it's not against Baptist, but it's Oklahoma independent, really strict Baptists. Okay, so it was intense, and I just remember people being so mean to me from the
Mm,
church. And I was the pastor's grandson, and my dad was the pastor's son, and just there was so much anger and
yeah.
animosity towards everybody, and I remember just never experiencing kindness,
Mm.
and I would just go back and say, hey, Dad, let it be something that the fruit of the spirit actually becomes something more important to you than your family has made it out to be.
Mm. So I love asking this question because I want dudes listening to be thinking about their kid being 40 one day, answering that question, right? And how we show up today is going to be a reflection of how they respond. And I think sometimes as dads, especially on the kindness one, we feel like our job is correction, 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 correction. But going back to what you said, kind of one, two things you said. One is validation. Your number one thing is validate this kid, right? Their identity. So less about correction and more like about connection. So are you connecting with your kids? Because sometimes I think, well, my kid needs to know I'm mad. They need to know that I'm frustrated because I need to correct their behavior. And it's like, is that really what's going to help you correct your own behavior? Is like if someone's a jerk to you or someone's like just angry at you, it's like we are all in the process of growing as humans and we are all going to make mistakes. And those mistakes, especially in the home, if alongside a loving father, you don't have to be mad or disappointed in or angry to guide your kid, right? To support your kid. Now, there are consequences at times, right? And I'm sure I'm going to be irritated. I got to give you a consequence because you made a terrible decision. But can I do it with love and kindness? Yes, I can. It just takes a little bit of extra effort and awareness on my behalf.
That's one of those things you can control.
Yes. Yes. And some of that comes down to like, are you working too hard? Are you working too much? Or are you giving the best of yourself to? I mean, I remember one time, dude, I was like, I blew up on my family for something. And that day I had like bent over backwards for some client who is not going to be my client forever. Don't care, whatever. And it's like I gave my very best because to some client who like had really zero relationship with, and then all my frustration was taken out on my family. It's like what an idiot. Uh, but it takes time to figure those things out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why repentance is huge.
Yeah, asking your family for repentance, yes, or
Forgiveness. I mean,
repenting, yeah, forgiveness, yeah.
don't don't be that dad that just says, "Hey, I'm sorry I blew up on you." And I'm trying to teach my because I can't when your kids do something and you're like, "Hey, you need to apologize." And they're like, "Sorry," that kind of crap. It
Yeah.
just blows. Anyway, so I have slowed my life down
Mm,
to when and I had to do this with my oldest daughter. I had a moment where I lost my cool on her just recently. We're so different, but we love each other, but we're so different. And I had to go, and I went and I said, "Will you forgive me for the anger that I just allowed to be dumped on you?" Of course, she said she forgave me, but then it was like a 2 or 3 day process of her having to work through her forgiveness towards me,
mm,
and it required patience from me. But dads, don't just say you're sorry to your kids. Apologize, like, "Hey, man, I lacked kindness. We forgive me for not
mm,
walking out one of the 9 things that Paul wrote about. These are fruit. This is the outcome of my being filled, whatever denomination you are, the outflowing and result of if you've been with the Lord, fruits
mm,
of the Spirit. If you're
mhm,
present with Him, if He imbues you and you're indwelling in Him, man, I like it.
mhm,
So
mhm.
those are some life altering things for me.
So good. All right, my friend, this podcast is Fatherhood Field Notes. You've been doing it. Just open up your field notes, sharing life. The mantra behind it is rebel and create. And you've already shared some things, but like, what are you rebelling against? And then what do you hope to create out of that?
Love it, man. The main thing I'm rebelling against, if I really take everything into account, is being the same. as those before me were.
Mhm.
Like, I just don't. I refuse to be that dad that stays the same.
Mhm.
I don't. I don't. I don't want to repent to my kids and then do the same thing. I'm rebelling
Yeah, it's
against
so good.
the remaining the same, not really changing. And then the the rebelling. What again? Sorry.
Create. So it's like if you're going to
Create. Yeah.
rebel against that, what do you want to
Yeah.
create from it?
Yeah, I'm creating real ways that men can and do things. Men can get the tools needed to do the work here. I'm
Mm,
not creating them. I'm partnering with people that are creating them, so that men do the deep dive.
yeah,
And
the mental
I
work.
can't. Oh, it's so important, dude. And the emotional work. We're so lax in that.
Mm,
And then creating the healthy, safe place for my children to reside until I'm with the Lord. And
mm,
so I just have a massive desire to create those safe places as I rebel against the status quo of most fathers. Man, there's just so many. My brain's moving on all this, but those would be the main things I would think.
mm. Love it. I'm gonna let you pick one of these two questions to answer, and I'm gonna ask them both though, so that dudes listening can just go like, "Oh gosh, I've not even thought about that." Um, One day you're gonna have six more kids, if all your kids get married, right? So there's six humans out there who are gonna come into your life at some point, and you are going to be a father figure to them. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, what do you want that to look like? How do you want to show up? So that'd be question option A. How do you want to show up to that? Or option B is you're going to be a grandfather someday, and potentially, dude, you could have like 20 grandkids, right? Which is super cool. um, what kind of grandfather do you want to be? And I want dudes thinking about this because, like, you and I, we're both like wrestling through being dads, and we're like, oh my gosh, my one kid's 20, right? My oldest is about to be 20. So you're like, you
yeah,
see the writing on the wall, and like we weren't thinking this way. Well, I wasn't when they were 5 and 6, like about the season starting and ending. It's like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I can't stop it. But now we can go, okay, there are, there's going to be marriages in the future and there's going to be grandkids in the future. I want to think a little bit about who I want to be, how I want to be when that happens. So I want to get guys thinking about that because fatherhood doesn't end when your kid's 18. I mean, there's
no,
like, dude, there's a lot of work that we continue to do. But it's
hmm
less like, did you brush your teeth today? And it's going to be more of like being there. So, thoughts on one of those two questions?
yeah. I think for the sake of my sanity right now, I'll answer B. A is too there's too much possibility sooner
Mm,
than later on A, and I don't know if I have a good, pure, honest
yeah,
answer for that one. So I'll refrain from A. I'll go straight to B
love
because
it.
a lot of guys. This is one of my favorite things. So I I love like my 6 year old dude. He's like the top rope wrestler. He's jumping
Mm,
off the highest thing and he's trying to break my back. And so I didn't realize this when I first started my fitness. I played years of football when I was younger. And then I got kicked out of college. And then about 8 years, I didn't do anything fitness. So when I was
mm,
28, I started working out again. So almost 13 years ago now.
yeah.
And, uh, and I didn't realize at the time that I was working out for the posterity to come, you know. So, and I mean, like, not just my great grandkids. I want to be a great grandfather that my great grandson's like, man, dadgummit, great grandpa or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call
yeah.
me, still smashes me, still beats me at whatever it is I can do with them. So my fitness now is for my great grandchildren
Mhm,
because there's something I remember the moments where my grandfather, we had a few good on my dad's side.
mhm.
We had some. He was a good man. He just wasn't. He lacked the kindness. Is and he was a Baptist preacher but he would wrestle with us.
That's
But then
awesome.
he got but at like 50 he hurt his back and you know if, when he was 50 I was 5 and I lost that. And
Mhm.
I'm 40 almost 41 and I think man that when I'm 70 I want that to I want to be interactive with all
Yeah.
these great grandkids and just so everybody knows you have 5 kids I have 6 um you know, obviously with conversation and prayer with your wife, the more the better. The
Hmm.
world has tricked us into thinking that convenience is important, and
Mm.
convenience is just not the primary thing. McDonald's is convenience, and it's so terrible for you.
Yeah.
The grocery store, Costco, or Safeway, they're inconvenient, but man, you can get what you need. And
Mhm.
I just want to tell all of you, man, don't let convenience be something you're looking for all the
Mhm.
time. It's nice, but kids are inconvenient.
Mhm.
All of them need to go different places all the time,
Yep.
and just let the inconvenience be uh, present and important to you. Don't look for convenience. So I talk to a
That's
lot of
good.
guys that have one or two kids. Like, man, I'm wiped out. I'm exhausted. You should see my wife. We're wiped. I'm like, have more.
Have
You get
more.
past
Mm.
this. Have
Mhm.
more. Convenience isn't the purpose of our children.
Ah, dude, I love it. Um, One of the things that, and we'll end with this. One of the things that I've been more aware of the last couple of years is the not only the ability but the opportunity, the responsibility from one man to speak life to another man. Um, I mean, for you to walk up, we're working out and you'd put your hand on my shoulder and say, Ned, you are crushing it, dude. You knocked out those pull-ups, or hey, I saw the way that you spoke to your daughter or you looked at your wife or whatever, right? Like even if you're my same age, it's like, man, there's something about this blessing, this word of life coming from one man to another. And then especially with you and your kids. But I want to encourage men to speak life, speak blessing into other men. We long for it, we need it. And so if you would just like, what's a blessing? What's a word? Think right now, some dude's doing a workout, he's on a run, he's on his bike, he's mowing his lawn, he's driving his car, whatever. He is listening to this right now. What's a word of life and blessing that you would speak to him right now?
Yeah, I think the word that I would speak to you is don't keep growing up too fast in a way that you remove your childlikeness from.
Mm,
I mean, Jesus said, "Be like these," and he sat a child on his lap. And you might be a professional, you might be an expert, you might be a master of something, but man, Jesus,
mm,
he he wants us to run to him. And I'm not. I'm so guilty of not. I got all these things to do. I just encourage all of you men that are listening to this or seeing this, hop on his lap
mm,
and let that like I watch my son. I watch my 6 year old son still get enamored with me,
mm,
and he thinks I'm the strongest guy in the world. My older kids know I'm not, so that's fleeting, but we're not enamored with
mm,
Jesus. And I think, man, leave the things behind that don't matter and become enamored with the guy that's really forgiven you for the things that you did, that gave his life for you. That's what I would encourage. Run to that and humble yourself and serve and get lower, serve your family.
mm,
Um, but man, I was looking at my son this morning as he was getting in the car, and he's like, "Dad, I don't want to go to school." I'm like, "Dude, I see a tiger." I'm looking out past the car, and he's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "I see a tiger." And I'm kind of watching it come around, and then I sneak back over by the around the car. I start like going at, just like I'm the tiger. He's laughing.
mm,
And then he just grabs me. Like I'm still like pretend like I'm gonna bite him, and I'm like kind of clawing at him, having fun. He's because he's scared for school, and I'm just getting his mind off of it. He
mm,
just goes, "I love you, Dad."
mm.
And I just looked down, I'm like, "Man, I love you." And he still thinks I'm the man. So that was a long answer. I don't mean to prattle, but
No,
just
no, I
just
love
get
it.
enamored with the Lord, and then humble yourself and become childlike, so that you
Mm.
remain enamored with him.
Dude, thank you. I received that, and dudes, I hope that you receive that too, because yes, you carry a ton of responsibility. Yes, and thank God for it. Like what a gift to get to steward part of His kingdom. But also you're a child in it too, and stop and look around and enjoy it. Um, I'm going to continue to come back to your 3.5-year-old. Like, each one of us has this desire to call dad. And even like you said, it's fleeting. Your kid thinks, your 6-year-old thinks you're the strongest. Um, but it's this reminder that our responsibility as fathers is to be that for them, show them the goodness of that. And then as they grow and they transition into adulthood, to make sure that they know that that thing it's they're not supposed to go be independent and like, let me just show you how to be independent. No, let me show you how to be dependent on God. You needed me. Like, I sat in this role, but my job is to show you that all those desires are still there, but they can't be fed by me. Like, I'm I'm just like you. I'm a human, doing my best, but you need the Father. So, dude, Blake, thank you, bro. This has been so fun. So much love to you for all the work you've done, the work you'll continue to do on your mind, your heart, and then sharing it with the world for them to be able to grow, and doing that for your wife and your kids. Um, dude, I bless you. I thank you. And I look forward to our paths crossing again in the future.
Come on. Thanks, Ned. This is awesome, man.
Bro,
Appreciate you.
thank you. Until next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Guaranteed.
So good. Such a good conversation. Man, I want to continue to find men like this in my community who I have respect for, that I can call, that they'll call me, that we are truly, without ego, looking out for the best interests of each other's families. Find those men, be that man. The best thing that you can do for your family, this is like the key takeaway for me from the conversation. The best thing that you can do for your family, for your daughters, for your sons, for your marriage, is to bring anything in the dark to the light. Like, work on yourself. Be open, be honest. Have a mentor in your life. I have had a spiritual mentor in my life for 10 years that we meet regularly, where I can open up, I can share, and anything, the craziest little stupid thought, I get out so that there aren't any seeds that can be grown, and then give them the ability to say, call me out, watch me, because I think that there can be, when somebody's at the top of something, right? You're at the top of your family, and there's no accountability. That's dangerous. I don't ever want to be in that place. So, um, consider that. Be open, honest with yourself. Be open, honest with your spouse, and have men in your life that you trust. If you have not written a review before, please write a review. Help spread the word that fatherhood matters. And love it if you'd shoot a text with the link to this podcast to one of your homies and say, "Hey, this is a great podcast. You're a great dad. I think you'd enjoy it." Thank you to all you dads out there listening to Fatherhood Field Notes Podcast. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kids, spouse, and community needs. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. Much love to you. I look forward to hanging out with you next time. If you have a thought, a question, a guest you'd like to see on here, shoot me an email, ned@rebelandcreate.com. Peace.